seems like ancient history, but it's only 20 years ago, really. You know? 20 years is a good amount of time, but when you think about, like, look, we're sitting in a building with like a fucking weed event happening with my dispensary next door. We got all kinds of new weed in front of us. Wow. And 20 years ago, we were like scraping for new cuts. I was driving 5 hours in like an old Subaru or some shit with a box of jars to meet up with you and John, hoping I can like get cool with you guys so I can get some cuts, you know? Yeah. It's like, that's a pretty big change, you know? And not just with me, but just with the public perception, too.
Even just meeting you back then and then seeing everything of today, it's like, from what it started out as, like what you're saying, just getting those jars of weed and just trying to make new connections and friends all over to find weed, to now to where there's stores everywhere and you can walk in and buy weed anywhere, where we were like dying hunting it down, trying just to find a connection to be able to get weed from.
But here's what I can say that has changed drastically, is we used to go hunt this weed outright, and when you did find it and it finally was the chronic you're looking for, it was typically some motherfucking chronic, right?
Oh yeah.
It didn't matter what the strain, none of that. Someone cared enough to grow it well. And like nowadays, you can go to 100 rec shops and not find a good bag. There will be more choices than you could imagine, and still never find a bag that's as memorable as what people were doing. And partially just because of the freshness.
But I don't think that we'll ever find weed in the stores that were found out on the streets like that, due to the fact that the people that were growing it were couple light growers, 10 light growers, 5 light growers. Are not growing hundreds and hundreds of lights, and the nutrients and things like that back then were different. People were, using better quality nutrients too at points, because maybe they were using their homemade teas, making their garden.
Mm-hmm. That's what we still do. We still make compost teas and do all that.
Even like, I noticed like when I bought my nutrients from one year to the next year, the quality of the nutrients had changed, and I watched, I don't know if you know of them, they're the SVA, SVB nutrients.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, before I moved up here the very first time to live in Washington for that trip, I bought A and B, and I was running on my garden, and I kept getting clones from everybody because I was tripping out, because about the third weekend all my plants would herm, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I cut out all the nutrients eventually, even all the like little side nutrients, the additives and everything. I was gonna say like B1 and all that stuff like that. I cut them off, Thrive Alive, anything like that. You know, well. At this point, I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and all my plants keep hurting me, so I shut down and I moved up here. Well, when I moved back from up here, one of my good friends, he was growing, he's like, dude, I don't know what's going on, and all my houses, I keep having problems, all my plants are herming out, and when I was up here, I had learned in my garage, I had that SVA, SVB, I had brought it, and I had also got some other nutrient, which was the Thrive-Alive, or what's it called? What's the company called? The Kind, or whatever. It's Botanicare. And the tables that I used the SVA, SVB on, they hermed. And all the other tables, because I didn't have enough for, but I used the other food on the same plants. None of them hermed, they were fine. So when I asked this kid what was going on, he told me the nutrients that he was using. It hit me like, 3-4 days later, and I called him and I told him, you're using SVA, SVB, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, pull it out, change it to something else right now, just stop using it.
Yeah.
And do something else. And that shit, we were using for years. Every OG grower in the valley that was on
commercial
top of it was their fucking food was that SVA, SVB.
Yeah.
Even Josh D, all of them, that was what they ran.
Yeah.
And then after that, I couldn't believe that the nutrient had been changed so many times by them, and stuff pulled in and out. They split up their company. 2 of the guys went different ways. And they made another nutrient called Bigfoot for a while, and it failed, and it was by the other partner. But that food that food destroyed, lives and shit. A lot of growers got screwed over and ruined their gardens not knowing.
Yeah.
That hurt a lot of people.
For sure.
And it was.
Well, I mean, you remember like the purple Lumitech Ballast?
Yeah, I remember them.
Say the fucking house torture. Old fire starter.
Fire starters, yeah. And then they just shut down and went out of business. Sorry,
Little,
see y'all later.
Yeah, little Lincoln logs. Fucking Jesus. Yeah, I mean, there's been some bad products, but people are looking for quick money. Look at advanced nutrients.
Yeah, oh my God, they're such a joke.